Before I dive into this wild story, I want to know where you're reading from. Drop your city or country in the comments. And if you can't stand people who weaponize their prejudice, give this a like and subscribe. I've got a second channel for more drama-fueled tales like this one, links below. Now, buckle up, because this is a story about bigotry, abuse of power, and a jaw-dropping twist that'll leave you stunned. It's got a malicious 911 call, a rogue FBI agent, and a smart lock on my garage that sparked a firestorm. Trust me, you won't see the ending coming. Grab a snack, get comfortable, because this is the tale of how they tried to destroy my life, not knowing they were picking a fight with the wrong guy. Picture this. After years of grinding through a world that often didn't want me to win, I finally made it. I bought a home in a pristine suburban neighborhood, manicured lawns, ancient oak trees, the kind of place that screams quiet, orderly wealth. It was my sanctuary, a modern colonial with a big backyard, and, for a car enthusiast like me, a 3-car garage that was my pride and joy. But from the moment I moved in, I felt the stares. Not blatant, but sharp, like 1,000 tiny cuts. The neighbor across the street, a woman named Karen with a flawless blonde bob and a glare that could sour milk, watched me from her window. Her son, a cocky 20-something named Jake, would cruise by in his obnoxiously loud Mustang, eyeing my property like I was an intruder. Morning jogs were met with hushed conversations that stopped when I passed, and my friendly waves got tight-lipped nods in return. I was a ghost in their perfect world, an outsider in their bubble of sameness. I'd faced this before. My strategy? Outshine them. My lawn was flawless, my house spotless. I was the model neighbor, giving them no reason to complain. My focus was my garage, a haven where I installed custom cabinets, epoxy floors, and a killer sound system. The final touch was a state-of-the-art smart lock for the garage door, controllable by my phone with a 24/7 video feed. It wasn't just about security, it was about progress, a symbol of my hard-earned place in this world. That Saturday, under a crisp, sunny sky, I set out to install it, unaware that this simple act would ignite a war that threatened everything I'd built. The smart lock box sat on my workbench, sleek and unassuming, as I worked meticulously, tools laid out like a surgeon's kit. I was on a ladder, threading a wire, when I felt that prickling sensation of being watched. I didn't need to look to know it was Jake, standing at the edge of my driveway, arms crossed, oozing entitlement. He didn't speak at first, just stared, trying to make me squirm. I gave him a curt nod and kept working. After a tense minute, he spoke, his voice dripping with condescension. "That's a lot of fancy tech you're putting in there." It wasn't a question, it was an accusation. I climbed down, wiping my hands, and faced him calmly. "Just upgrading the garage door opener," I said. "Smart lock. More secure." His eyes narrowed. "Secure from what?" "This is a safe neighborhood. We don't have problems here." The word problems was heavy with meaning. I was the problem, the outsider who didn't belong. "Every neighborhood needs good security," I replied evenly. "Plus, I like the convenience." I thought that would end it, but Jake wasn't after logic. He stepped onto my driveway, a bold move. "My dad says those things can be hacked," he sneered. "Says they're a security risk. You could be letting hackers into our whole network." The absurdity was almost laughable, but then he dropped the bomb. "My dad's in federal law enforcement. He knows about these things." It was a threat, and the air shifted. This wasn't just a nosy kid, this was a power play with muscle behind it. I stayed calm. "I appreciate the concern, but I'm an expert in network security. It's safe." I turned back to my work, dismissing him. His face twisted with rage. He wasn't used to being ignored, especially not by someone like me. "You know what?" he spat, pulling out his phone. "You're a threat. You're installing suspicious equipment, and you're being aggressive. I'm calling the police." My blood ran cold, but I kept my face neutral. I'd seen this script before: the weaponized 911 call, a tool of fear wielded by those who know the system tilts their way. I set down my screwdriver and faced him, arms folded, silent. Any hint of anger would be twisted against me. He dialed, his voice shifting to a panicked performance. "Yes, I need to report a hostile individual at 123 Maple Drive. He's breaking into my neighbor's garage, installing some weird device. He's dangerous." Every word was a lie, crafted to paint me as a criminal. "Yes, he's black," he added, his voice dropping to a whisper, as if that sealed my guilt. He threatened me. He might have a weapon. Hurry. Within 4 minutes, 2 patrol cars screeched onto the street, lights flashing. Jake stood triumphant, phone still in hand. 2 officers stepped out, a grizzled veteran, Officer Daniels, and a young, eager rookie, Officer Reed. They went straight to Jake, who launched into a theatrical replay of his lies, pointing at me, claiming I'd threatened him. Daniels looked skeptical, eyeing my open garage, the smart lock box, and my car parked inside. Reed, though, was all in, his hand on his holster, ready for action. They approached me. "Sir, hands where I can see them," Reed barked. I complied, stepping into the sunlight, hands raised. "This is my home," I said calmly. "That's my garage, my car. I'm installing a new opener." Reed snapped. "We'll determine that. You match the description of a burglary suspect." ID. I told them it was in my pocket. Daniels retrieved my wallet, checked my license, and saw the address matched. Jake, sensing his story unraveling, shouted, "It's probably fake. He's a professional." Daniels shot him a look that could have melted steel. "Son, calm down." Then Jake upped the ante. "My dad's an FBI agent. He'll be here soon, and he'll sort this out." Daniels' face sour. This was about to get messy. 9 minutes later, a black SUV rolled up, radiating authority. Out stepped Special Agent Marcus Reed, no relation to the rookie, a man in his late 50s with a crew cut and aviator sunglasses. He ignored the officers, his gaze locking onto me, cold and assessing. Jake ran to him. "Dad, that's the guy." Marcus placed a hand on his son's shoulder and strode past the cops, stopping inches from me. He removed his sunglasses, revealing icy blue eyes. "Officer," he said to Daniels, dismissing his rank. "What's the situation?" Daniels explained it was a misunderstanding, that I was the homeowner. Marcus chuckled darkly. "A misunderstanding? My son doesn't misunderstand. He says you were aggressive, threatened him." I stayed calm. "Your son's perception and reality are different. I was working on my property when he approached me, made baseless accusations. I asked to be left alone." Marcus stepped closer, invading my space, his cologne mixing with the faint scent of gun oil. "I've been in this business 30 years. I can smell a liar. My son felt threatened, and in this state, that's enough for a menacing charge. In my neighborhood, we don't tolerate disruptions." It was a naked threat, delivered in front of 2 cops who stood powerless. He thought he had me cornered. He pulled out a notepad, a prop for his performance. "Name," he demanded. I gave it, plain and simple. "James Carter." He scribbled, sneering. "What's the purpose of that smart lock? You spying on us?" I replied, "Security and convenience. Standard tech." He pressed, "Where are you from?" "Before here." The question dripped with prejudice. "That's irrelevant," I said, and his annoyance flared. "It's relevant to me. I need to know who's in my neighborhood." I stayed silent, letting his words hang, my phone discreetly recording every syllable. He leaned in, voice low. "Here's how this goes. I'll find out everything about you, every job, every ticket, every secret. I'll find something, and I'll use it to get you out of my neighborhood. Clear?" His son smirked from the lawn. The rookie cop stared in awe, but Daniel's jaw twitched, knew this was wrong. Marcus put his sunglasses back on, smug. "Do we have an understanding?" I gave a cold smile. "We do, but not the one you expect. Let me take you back. My career didn't start in a corner office. It began in the trenches, as a young agent in a different agency, full of ideals about justice. Those ideals were tested by a man like Marcus. Supervisor Victor Hayes, a charismatic legend who mentored me until I saw his true colors, manipulating evidence, coercing confessions, using his badge for personal gain. The breaking point was a case where he blackmailed a suspect's family to close a deal. I reported him, only to be sidelined to a dead-end desk job. Hayes walked free, but that moment forged me. I joined the Office of Professional Responsibility, OPR, the internal watchdog that polices corrupt agents. I climbed the ranks, becoming a deputy director, an expert in dismantling men like Hayes. And now, standing on my driveway, I was staring at another one. Marcus Reed, case file 827, already under my scrutiny for civil rights complaints and shady informant payments. Marcus had no idea who I was. His file was thick with dismissed complaints, questionable cash flows, and whispers of off-duty harassment in minority neighborhoods. He danced on the edge of the law, protected by his record and connections. But today, he'd confessed to planning felonies threatening to misuse federal databases to harass main front of witnesses on my recording. He thought he was the predator. He was the prey. Agent Reed, I said, my voice slicing through the silence. Have you heard of the OPR? His smirk faltered. Internal affairs? Desk jockeys who've never seen the street. I stepped forward. You're about to know us well. I'm James Carter, Deputy Director of the OPR. Your case, File 827, has been on my desk for 3 weeks. The air froze. Jake's jaw dropped, the rookie gaped, and Daniels exhaled sharply. Marcus paled, his hand trembling. Pursuant to 28 CFR 0.39, I continued, you're under investigation for abuse of authority, coercion, and unlawful use of federal resources. Everything you've said here is a confession, recorded. I held up my phone. Officers, I'll need your statements as witnesses to this and the fraudulent 911 call by that young man. I pointed at Jake, who looked ill. Marcus stammered, this is a setup. I laughed coldly. Did I set you up to threaten me? No, Agent. Your prejudice blinded you. I flashed my DOJ credentials. You tried to intimidate the man who holds your career in his hands. And you failed. The aftermath was chaos. Marcus stood like a ghost, his sunglasses useless. Jake whined, Dad, what's OPR? Daniel stepped up, giving his badge number, ready to cooperate. I ordered Jake detained for his false report. The FBI arrived. Supervisory Agent Laura Brooks, cold and efficient. She stripped Marcus of his weapon, credentials, and SUV keys, escorting him away. Jake was issued a summons, his bravado gone. Then Karen stormed out, shrieking, What have you done? She accused me of being a criminal, but Brooks shut her down, warning her of legal consequences. The neighborhood watched, curtains twitching, as the family's reign crumbled. The war didn't end there. Karen and Jake took to the internet, posting in the neighborhood's private group and on public platforms, painting me as a sinister figure with surveillance tech. Jake's Reddit thread called me a corrupt DOJ fixer, doxing my name and address, spinning a conspiracy that I was spying on his father. The harassment was swift, hateful emails, threats, voicemails with slurs. They wanted to scare me into silence. Instead, they dug their own graves. I forwarded everything to Brooks, adding witness tampering to their charges. The OPR investigation, now led by Deputy Director Sarah Lee, expanded. Marcus' finances revealed cash deposits tied to his cases, laundered through Karen. Jake's emails showed Marcus buried a hit-and-run he'd committed. A hidden partition on Marcus' computer exposed his black book, detailing payoffs and leverage over officials, including Hayes, my old nemesis. The driveway incident had unraveled a decades-long corruption ring. Pressure came hard. A congressman, Marcus' ally, wrote to the Attorney General, calling my investigation a witch hunt. Blogs smeared me as a deep state operative. Hayes tried to intimidate my director, hinting at national security risks. I stood firm, telling my director, the evidence is ironclad. If we back down, we tell every corrupt agent they're untouchable. He agreed, expanding the probe to Hayes. We flipped a former colleague of Hayes, Agent Tom Wilson, who confessed to falsifying a warrant for corporate espionage. His testimony opened the floodgates. More agents came forward, exposing a network of corruption. On a crisp Tuesday, arrests hit. Karen for money laundering, Jake for his crimes, Hayes in D.C., and finally Marcus, charged with extortion and conspiracy. The headline screamed of a corruption sweep. My name cleared as the catalyst who exposed it all. The family's house was sold to cover their debts. A new couple moved in, their kids waving as I mowed my lawn. The neighborhood's hostility faded, replaced by cautious respect. Mr. Thompson, a retired professor, brought me wine, saying, "You brought integrity to this street." At night, I stand in my garage, the smart lock gleaming a symbol of the spark that lit this fire. This wasn't just my fight. It was a battle for justice, one not in a courtroom, but on a quiet driveway. They judged me for my skin, tried to erase me, but I stood my ground. The system, flawed as it is, held. Justice prevailed because we fought for it. So stand tall, know your worth, and never let anyone take it from you. Even a simple smart lock can change everything.